A bit of background. I, 40 male, have been married to my wife, 40, for 5 years. She has a son, tween, and a daughter, pre-tween, from her previous marriage. I have one daughter, 1 year younger than her daughter, from my previous marriage. About a month ago, her son accused me of hitting him. I never put my hands on him or anyone. My wife confronted me, and I denied it. She didn't believe me. After the argument, I went to cool off and talk to my friend. He was very worried and said I should leave the house with my daughter. He said that I'm a man, and no one is going to believe me, and I could lose my daughter if things escalate. I finally understood the gravity of the situation I was in. After a long walk, I made up my mind. I went to my house and asked my wife to talk to me. I said that I never hit him. I don't know why he said it, and I don't want to know anymore. I told her that I did not feel safe in this house and didn't want to risk my and my daughter's futures. I told her I understood her mama bear mindset, so I won't blame her for not believing me. But the last place I want to be is anywhere near a mama bear. I packed my and my daughter's bags and left for my parents' house. I refused to take her calls and asked her to only contact me through messages, since it's not legal in my state to record without the consent of both parties. Her messages ranged from blaming me to blaming herself and wanting to talk in person. 3 weeks later, she messaged me and told me she believed me. When I left, she started questioning her son's allegations, and obvious inconsistencies emerged. She realized that her son was full of crap. She apologized profusely and begged me to come back. I refused. I told her that I couldn't risk it anymore. I don't trust her children, and I don't trust her to believe me. I can't risk it. She asked me what I wanted her to do, give up her kids' custody? And I said, honestly, I do love her, and I do want to stay with her, but I can't risk it to be with her anymore if her kids are staying with us. I told her I was sorry, and I didn't expect her to leave her kids, so I thought it best if we moved forward with separation. It turns out she's actually considering giving up custody of her kids. Her ex-husband called me and asked me why his ex-wife was talking about giving up custody. I told him the truth, and he was angry with her son, but angrier with my wife. He respected me enough not to push it further when I told him to sort it out with my wife. So we're in the middle of a crap storm, and I'm not budging. I can't stay in the same house as her children. I'm getting bombarded by phone calls from people blaming me for making my wife abandon her children. So what other choice do I have? I can't risk going back now. Am I the idiot for not going back to my wife until she gives up custody of her children? Not the idiot. How does she go from mama bear, who will do anything to defend her children, to if you come back to me, I'll ditch the kids? Disturbing. A parent who gives up their children to be with a romantic partner is not someone worthy of your time. Suppose she was saying she wants the kids to be in therapy, either you two being temporarily separate or the kid being primarily with his father. In that case, she's considering giving up custody without any thinking. If she does this with her children, she'll do it to you. Yeah, this is what has me confused too. Mama Bear was ready to rip OP apart and didn't argue when he decided to go, but is now all, yeah, screw these lying kids. Please come back, dear meal ticket, hubby. And she apparently didn't tell the ex-hubs the truth, since he had to call OP to find out what was going on. Mama Bear should be renamed Drama Mama Bear. She likes the drama of it. She took 3 weeks to decide to allow OP back into their lives. The minute OP was like, nah. Drama Mama Bear's all, screw these kids, yo, and is blaming OP yet again for all of it. Or she realizes that her son will never be happy if she's with anybody at all, meaning she'll never be able to be in a stable romantic relationship because her son will sabotage it. She realizes her son has issues, showing he's willing to go to extreme lies to get his way. I'm torn. People are saying she should have believed you, and I understand their mindset. What if it was her posting? People would ask how she could believe her new husband over her son and how she's risking her son's safety. So it's a lose-lose. Ultimately, I do think you were right to leave 100%. I wouldn't go back personally. She'll end up bitter and resentful that she gave up custody for you, and any argument you have will come back to, well, you have your daughter, and I gave up my kids for you. It won't work. Don't waste any more time. Resentment will grow and fester. My husband and I have an infant daughter who hates my mother-in-law. Every time she comes over, my daughter screams to high heaven and does not stop until mother-in-law is out of view. My daughter doesn't do this when it comes to literally anyone else. My husband thinks it's because his mom doesn't come over often enough. She's here no less than once a week, but usually 2 times a week, and no one comes over as often as she does. Everyone else has only met our daughter at most twice. His opinion is not valid here. Not because I don't respect his opinion, of course, but because she is here often, and my daughter still hates her. My daughter's met my mother twice, and she basically wrestles to get out of my arms to get to her, and smiles and giggles the entire time. She truly just doesn't like my mother-in-law. I personally cannot stand when my mother-in-law comes over anymore. My husband and his mom try forcing a bond by passing my daughter to mother-in-law and having mother-in-law rock her and try to soothe her as she's holding her breath and screaming the entire time. But it's really set my irritation in stone when my mother-in-law said today, "Cry all you want. You won't get your way. I don't play that game," and walked out of the room as my daughter reached for me. I instantly took her back and said, "No, you're mistaken. I don't play the game you're playing." I told them both that from now on, the second my daughter starts screaming, she's to be passed back to me. I'm no longer allowing this "we need to force a bond" BS. Before my mother-in-law left today, my husband said, "Maybe you should come by more often, even when I'm at work, because the more my daughter sees you, the more she'll recognize you, and the bond will happen eventually." I stepped in and said, "I'm not okay with that. His mother is here often enough, and I don't want anyone here when he's at work. Not only is it my downtime, but it's also when I'm working. I work from home, and I don't want anyone here." My husband said, "Yeah, but she could help you by watching the baby while you work." I told him, "It doesn't help me to listen to my baby scream bloody murder, actually. And once again, it's not happening. She can stick to her usual of coming over when he's here, and that's it." He says I'm purposely ruining the chance of a bond between his mom and his baby. I'm doing no such thing, though. She doesn't like her, and having her come here more often than she already does will just mean that my baby's going to be screaming a lot more. Am I the idiot? Edit. My mother-in-law is a good woman, and I've always gotten along with her, and I always brag to people that I lucked out because I don't have a toxic relationship with her like all the other people I know have with their mothers-in-law. My daughter is not feeding off my dislike for my mother-in-law. She's never liked her. I don't know why, but it doesn't change the fact that my daughter screams every time she sees her. I am irritated with my mother-in-law's presence now, but only because she sees my daughter holding her breath and screaming and refuses to get out of her face and continues to try and force my daughter to accept her. It still doesn't make me hate my mother-in-law, but it does make me dread her coming around the baby. My husband's suggestion that she comes here to help me by watching the baby while he's working would quite literally do the opposite of help. I won't allow my daughter to scream like that, and I won't get any work done. Not the idiot. What on earth is this forcing a bond nonsense? Has that ever worked for anyone? Maybe your husband can take the baby to work, and his mom can visit him there. Let them see how fruitful this is for the relationship and how it really ramps up your husband's productivity. Mother-in-law's trying to relive her motherhood instead of just backing off and acting like a normal human being. You cannot force a baby to like someone. Babies are like cats. They gravitate toward the people who ignore them, LOL. I never force myself on babies. I always hold back, smile, talk expressively, offer something to play with, which often works. Exactly. When my niece was born, she would cry when I tried to hold her. So guess what? I didn't hold her. Once she was past the baby phase, I could play with her, and we developed a super strong relationship. Her parents say I get more info out of her than both of them combined at this point. Teenager. Mother-in-law needs to chill out. Don't take it personally. And meet baby the way baby wants to be met. My son is the first in my family to get married. I've never been married. I've always been a single mother. I'm 65. My son and his wife live 5 hours away from me, so I don't see them often. When I heard the engagement news, I told my son I wouldn't have much to contribute towards the wedding, but I'm always supportive. They got back to me via text and told me they never expected anything from me, as they knew my financial position, and that I'm also housing my daughter and grandson. I will also say I am a very shy person and have social anxiety. For their engagement party they held in my city, I came for an hour and left. Big social gatherings aren't my thing. I don't think my daughter-in-law took it well, but I'm sure my sons explained my social anxiety. For their wedding, I was sent an invitation, and my kids and I planned on attending along with my one brother and his wife. My family's extremely small, and my daughter-in-law's side probably had 100 guests. Well, I don't know much about weddings and wasn't asked to help with anything. I just showed up when the day came. Upon entering, we sat in the church, in the pews, waiting for the ceremony, and her family was in the hallways all socializing. My son came out and sat with us for an hour before the wedding, and then sat with us halfway through dinner. He also stood in line with us for pictures while his wife was socializing. My daughter-in-law won't talk to us, and it's extending to my son because we ruined her day. She said we didn't help with the wedding planning or want to be involved, even though she understood I couldn't help financially. She was upset I never once reached out to her to see if she needed any help, and that I didn't care to socialize and talk to anyone at the wedding, and that my son had to keep leaving her side to make us comfortable. She also said her family asked all night if we even wanted to be there because we seemed aloof and rude. Because of this, she doesn't think we support them or their marriage. My son said my daughter-in-law is highly disappointed in us. I wasn't rude to anyone and tried to let them enjoy their day without intruding. Am I the idiot? I'm sorry, but I have to say you are the idiot, though obviously not intentionally. I notice people keep saying that the daughter-in-law didn't communicate expectations, but frankly, the idea that the mother of the groom needs to be specifically told to be involved is a little silly. Not financially, that's completely fine, but it never once occurred to you to ask about helping out or cleaning or anything like that? Aside from that, and this is on your son, he shouldn't have spent that much time at his wedding sitting with you. I'm getting the impression that he felt obligated to do this, and it took away from his time with everyone else, most notably the bride. Also, it's rude that you didn't even seem to bother trying to say hello to her family, your son's family. It absolutely does come off as rude. I understand social anxiety is hard. I have social anxiety, but you're a grown woman, and you need to be able to make yourself say hello to what is now your son's family. None of them approached OP. You are not the idiot. Considering your social anxiety, nothing stopped your daughter-in-law from asking you for help or her family from approaching you at the wedding to socialize. You showed up for the engagement party for a reasonable enough period if no one was engaging with you. Yeah, I'm sure OP seems super approachable after her great escape from the engagement party. For goodness sake, does no one read the whole post and consider it before contributing? OP has set a precedent of wanting to be left alone at best and not wanting to have a darn thing to do with this at worst. OP seems very self-centered, and the way the story is written, the whole wedding, her focus was on herself. Last week, 4 of my children and I moved into a 4-bedroom house. As there are 5 of us and only 4 bedrooms, my teenage sons share a bedroom. They're Mark, a male nearly adult, and Josh, a young male teen. My tween daughter Mia, myself, and 27-year-old autistic son Tom have our own rooms. The boys had shared a bedroom all their lives until last summer, when my 22-year-old daughter moved out, and one of them took her room. Now that we've downsized, they're unhappy about sharing a room again. The house has 2 bedrooms and a bathroom upstairs, One of the bathrooms is tiny and my daughter's room. The other one is mine so we can share the same bathroom. There are also 2 bedrooms and a bathroom downstairs. One is around the same size as my bedroom and the other is 5 feet wider. The smaller bedroom is still decent, with enough room for 2 double beds and the rest of their furniture. Ultimately, I decided to give my teens the smaller bedroom for a few reasons. Mark is a senior in high school and will be going to college in the fall, at which point Josh will have the room mostly to himself other than during school breaks. Tom has a part-time job and pays me $150 monthly rent. He also spends more time at home and in his room than his younger brothers. I plan on getting him a couch and a TV set up so he can have his own living space in the room. My teens are very active and have never spent much time hanging out in their rooms, even when they each had their own. Although Josh doesn't see his dad, Mark does. He has his own room at his dad's house, and although he spends more time at my home, he still stays with his dad somewhat frequently. Despite all the reasons I've listed, the teens have expressed that they're unhappy that they've been given the smaller room. They think they should have gotten the bigger bedroom because there are 2 of them. Josh is the most annoyed of the 2 and is texting his older sister, complaining. She talked to me about it, took their side, and suggested I play favorites by giving their older brother the bigger room. I understand their argument, but I also don't think a few extra feet of space is going to heal their frustration about sharing a room again. I'm willing to listen to criticism about this and possibly change things around. Am I being the idiot? And should I switch their rooms before my oldest son gets too settled? You are the idiot. I think you missed the major wrong in your thinking. Consider this. The larger room should go to the 2 teens because they share a room and an even smaller space together. Your adult son, being only single here, can surely take the smaller room, as he'll get privacy either way. Giving your younger sons more space will hopefully lessen their frustration at having to share. And as far as giving your adult son a couch and a TV setup and that whole shebang, you are favoring him over the younger 2. He doesn't need that. It was a bad move. Switch them. I agree. If the eldest son paid genuine rent other than a pittance, I could see the argument that he gets priority. Unless he's buying his food, which I doubt, that's not covering his living there. If he's working, he should be able to cover $500 in rent, his own food, his own phone, and his car and insurance. He doesn't pay genuine rent or groceries, so I can't argue for him getting priority. Info. So you had 5 people in a 5-bedroom house. Why the heck would you downsize? Everything was perfect. My older daughter was paying a significant share of the rent from when she was 19 until she moved out. I tried to keep paying it on my own for the last 7 months, but I was struggling, especially since October, as I haven't received any child support from the dad of my youngest 2 since then. On top of that, the landlord at our old place was useless. The house had so many issues that he was never going to fix. The new house has some other upsides, including a bigger yard, which the boys will use a lot of. So your 22-year-old daughter has been paying a significant share of the rent since she was 19, while the 27-year-old bro was doing what? You needed to be charging your 27-year-old more than just a pittance. You are the idiot. You're playing favorites. Just because your son is autistic doesn't mean he needs a bigger room with a TV set up all to himself with a rent discount. It's a great way to show your other kids you never prioritize them over him.